It's tarot time. Okay. Today I wanted to be, we gotta get serious here. This is serious. Talking about tarot cards here. Actually it is. It's pretty, this is really something I think is important to know. And it has to do with, and I've mentioned this in some of my other videos, but maybe not specifically the way I want to mention it now, is the difference between strategies and tactics and how the tarot uses both. And we really don't cover too much on strategy. Most sources don't go into it too much. Strategy is your card spread. And yeah, they'll show card spreads. People will show card spreads. How to use them. What each position means. And things like that. But going into the card spread, as far as something that's, what the value it has, what it's really doing, is the difference between strategy and tactics. I just watched a couple of YouTubes on strategy versus tactics and the difference between the two, because I wanted to try to find out good ways to put this. They said that only about a third of the businesses out there today understand the difference between the two. And if you don't understand the difference between the two, you're probably not going to make it in business. If it was warfare, which uses both, your generals know the strategy. And then the lower ranks execute the tactics on the battlefield. So the strategy is important. And Sun Tzu said that his men can see the strategy, the tactics he's using, but they never see the strategy. The strategy is in his mind. It's a plan. It's not tangible. They said that a good rule of thumb is that tactics are something you can touch, where strategies aren't. And you can touch these. The card spread you never see, unless you have a journal or something later you could record and look at, or you're reading about it in a book. But when you're going to perform a card spread on your table, you never see it. And because of that, we don't really look at the value that the card spread has and what it is we're really doing with it. Card spread is your question. It's the strategy of the whole reading. And the tactics are the tarot cards. The tangible part, cards. So this is what we really put most of our attention on, is this. And so I would say that what I teach mostly is, I teach both. In my books, Genius of the Tarot, Essential Tarot, Radical Tarot has both in there. Those three books are my teachings of the tarot. But I would say that I've always felt that it was important to really know the value of a card spread and what it is, what we're doing with it. And the reason for that's why I've changed my Celtic cross from a traditional Celtic cross to one that I felt was more useful in doing a card reading. Useful in finding direct answers and making good, accurate predictions for somebody. I felt was needed to be tweaked here and there from your traditional Celtic cross or traditional card spread. And you could take I go over that in my books, and you could take my position meanings and you could use them, or you can put your own in there. And I feel that once you understand the value of a strategy, and that the card spread is a strategy, once you understand that, you see that what you can do with it, because you understand what you're doing. Card spread is aspects of the question. Each position is an aspect of the question you're looking into. The cards are just a tool used to spark ideas for that specific aspect of the question. So whatever the aspect of the questions you want to use, whatever you want to put in there as far as aspects of the question, those are the cards are going to help you get answers to those questions. So the card spread is a strategy, and the cards that are placed into that spread and your ability to use them is a tactic. And I think this helps a lot in understanding what it is we're doing with those cards. If you understand both of those aspects, it'll help you. I think it'll help you as a reader. I know a lot of great readers that maybe don't really look at that aspect, and they just got lucky that they had a good strategy, because the spread they're using and the way they use it is a good strategy. So they got lucky with that. And I know others that wish they could do more. And I think if they understood that aspect better, they would. And when I teach the strategy as much as I teach the tactics of what the cards mean and how to use the cards. So the deck you use isn't really that important. It's a tool. If I want to build a house, I could use Stanley tools, I could use Craftsman tools, I can use whatever types of tools I want. But the blueprint of the house is really the strategy. And the card spread is a strategy. So those meanings and those positions you use are important. And feel free to fine-tune them in ways that you think would be something that you could see better or would help give you better answers to your clients. And I've noticed now with a lot of my comments I'm getting on my YouTubes, people like my Celtic cross because of the positions that I use. And they do work. I've used them for years, and so they're time tested and they work very well. But I tweak them here and there still. You always will be. Learning the tarot is not an end result. It's not something you just learn and then you do the rest of your life the same way. You're constantly learning the tarot. And that's what's nice about it. So, coming up with a good strategy, a good way to do that is to focus on your card spread. And everybody that knows me knows that I use the Celtic cross my way. And a good example of that would be the two. If you look at positions 1 and 2 on my Celtic cross, the first two cards, the center cross, I use that as to represent the question itself. And I use position 7 as how the client sees their own question. This allows me to check how the client's looking at their own question here. So I usually put in there for positions 1 and 2, the question itself is what those two cards, those positions mean. It allows us to really look at the question. I'd like to change that to 1 and 2 being, let's rephrase the question. Because this forces us to look at it from another aspect. But I don't use that because sometimes the client has a real good question and it doesn't need to be rephrased. Then what do you do with those two positions? But I do keep that in mind. Can the question be rephrased? And lots of times with your readings, you're going to find that the clients will start talking about their question and they're rephrasing it themselves as they're going. Because if they start talking about it out loud, they're starting to see it in different ways. I think it's interesting if you look at the mindset is so strong with tactics versus strategy. Again, you don't see strategies. And you can look throughout history and you can see where, whether it's business or other parts of history, including war, strategies were overlooked. And if you want to be a good card reader, I would suggest really looking into your strategies and the card spread and how you want it to be. And focusing on the card spread as far as being something that's useful. You can know those cards inside out. But if you don't know why the card spread works, I think it puts you at a disadvantage as far as being a reader. So, these are my thoughts. I thought I'd share them with you. And to be continued. We'll take it from there. Thanks for watching.